Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome. I don't care, good, bad. I even don't know I'm good or bad. Sometimes I'm bad, sometimes I'm good. It's better to ask my wife, but I love learning something new. I'm a student on this life, and today we are going to discuss more about quality content, how to create high quality content. We are going to touch more about EEAT. It's very important on Google. Experience, expert, authority, trust. And I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Taylor Kurtz. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, big pleasure. I love to learn from you. I know you're active to publish on search engine land, on social media. I like your lesson that you did for my course. Taylor, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and anything that can help our new listeners to learn more about you.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my name is Taylor Kurtz. I own a company called Crush the Rankings, which is what we aim to do. And yeah, our sole focus is search engine optimization. We don't do social media or any of that. We do web development to kind of complement the SEO efforts. And beyond that, if you want to get in touch with me, as you mentioned, I like to every day stay up on the latest news, talk about it on social media, all that. You can find me on LinkedIn, again, Taylor Kurtz, Kurtz, or you can find me on Twitter at real REAL, real Taylor Kurtz. Unfortunately, at Taylor Kurtz was taken and never posted, so I had to go with the real Taylor Kurtz. But yeah, definitely happy to stay in touch. I'm trying to stay on top of everything. A lot's been going on these last few months, so lots to dig into.
Yeah, awesome. Love it, love it. Taylor, you mentioned that you don't touch social media, focus on SEO. I love focusing. I think it's hard to get results without focus because marketers all often become jack of all trades, trying to do almost everything, paid
Yes,
marketing,
sir.
organic reach. But the last time I started to pay attention to social media, at least I am asking my clients to do it because of EEAT. Most customers, I don't remember exactly the number, like 75% probably, usually check social media. So if they want to buy, they can open social media accounts because of searching for discounts, because of checking brands, many different points. So that is why I usually ask my clients to be active on social media. It can impact to SEO. It's like indirect factor, but impact is phenomenal. So can you tell how you decide this issue? I mean, like how you can help your customers if you pay attention to SEO to be active on social media to improve this trust.
Absolutely. So I'm not, I mean, I don't like social media from the standpoint of I think that the world is there's so much argument and division on social media. So for that reason, I don't like it. But from a business perspective, I'm not against social media. I think that it is very effective, especially when building that brand recognition, connecting with your customers and potential customers. So I think it's very, very valuable, especially if done right. For me personally, when I first opened my company, I would do social media, I would write content, I'd do whatever it took to kind of get my foot in the door. Uh, but as time went on, I really kind of like you said, a lot of people wear a lot of different hats and are jacks of all trade. And there's lots of great digital marketers out there, many, many of them. But my philosophy was I wanted to be a master of one versus a master of none. So like similar to if I'm a lawyer, I know a lot about a different law, but I want to be the best at this kind of law. And it was kind of that same approach where I just felt I could carve out more of a space for myself. And instead of trying to learn little bits about all these different things, I could try to become, very, very well informed and familiar with and specialized in this one particular thing. So that was really my focus was instead of being a great digital marketer, I wanted to be the best SEO.
Oh yeah, love it, love it. And I'm not sure it's possible to be a great digital marketer. You can be a great like SEO, great social media expert, great, I don't know, online events, especially so, yeah. But great digital marketer, I'm not sure. Possible it's company can do, a big company that can have
Right.
experts. Yeah, company can be great in digital marketing. But if we speak about small teams, departments, yeah, it's better to pay attention to specific niche. I wanna ask about the future. I usually ask this question in the end of my podcast, but right now I want to ask now because SEO is related to blog content, and most traffic are coming to blogs. Plus 56% are coming to blog content. But today, Google is stealing our clicks because of feature snippets, paid marketing. It's not like many years ago when you have the first position, you can get like 40% or 30% of clicks. We have ChatGPT that can steal our content without linking to us. At least Google can link to webmasters, but ChatGPT doesn't. And I'm not sure about the future because Google is going to launch this search generative experience, and I don't know what kind of blog content we can rank if chatbots are growing, developing, and I love this format. Personally, I ask a lot of questions on ChatGPT instead of Google. Because on Google I can use keywords, but on ChatGPT I can ask long questions and get my answers faster, much faster than on Google. So, what do you think? What kind of future will be in blog content?
That's a good question. And it's kind of like I could see it going one of two ways. So, for instance, as you mentioned, let's just say you wrote a great blog article, and all of a sudden, Google releases SGE, the Search Generative Experience. And when you put something in, instead of kind of showing the typical search results, which now get pushed down, Google gives you what it thinks is the answer. If it gets some of the information for that answer from our blog content, I'm hopeful, and it seems the direction they're going is Google would kind of have a works cited or a citation saying, we pulled this information from there. You can highlight it and go to our full blog. In which case, I would think that could potentially benefit us. I mean, if we're in general trying to build our authority and trust within Google, and Google's pulling from us as an answer, we will certainly see the click-through rate and the clicks to those blogs most likely go down. For me personally, a lot of my blogs are to capture people in the research phase and kind of build our expertise. So if someone's asking a question about a topic, any question about that topic, I want to show up. Although that's typically, like I mentioned, in the research phase, not necessarily the conversion phase. So I'm not sure it would necessarily hurt too bad conversions, but at the same time, they do have the option now, and I know a lot, like Wall Street Journal, a lot of major news publications are going this direction, where they're blocking those crawlers from their website so they cannot take your information. Which, like I said, so if in the prior example it cites to you, the good news is Google's trusting you and showing you. The bad news is people are probably not going to ever click to the blog because it pulled the answer right there. Whereas if I block these AI crawlers, the good news is they're not going to take any of my content or use any of my information. The bad news is at the same time, whoever's searching it could very easily get their answer at the top. And even if you're still ranked number one, not get down to those search results. So how they roll it out and kind of what features and, like I said, references or citations, how those are implemented, I think will form or shape kind of the strategy or approach we take. I think for some, it really depends on your business and your market and your audience. For some, I think that it would be wise to block AI bots. For others, you might see some benefit. So it's just kind of a wait and see approach, I guess, until we see what the final product looks like. A lot of it, though, I will say is you may have heard of a gentleman who's big in the SEO community, very, very, very good SEO, Glenn Gabe. And Glenn Gabe, what I thought was very interesting is he was using the beta for search generative experience and kind of that. And he also was using Bing Chat. And he went to go visit his daughter, who was college age, and her friends. And when he showed it to them, their first response was, "This is stupid." and they went straight to the normal Google results. So I think a lot of the concern as well about how much traffic will we lose, about Google taking what we have and serving it as their own. A lot of that is under the assumption user behavior will change and we'll all gravitate towards this new thing. Whereas, a lot of us have decades under our belt of searching for things one kind of way, essentially. And obviously that's evolved as, the maps, the featured snippets, the product carousel, these different search features have been added, but the search experiences remain mostly the same. So I think also there will be a huge potential need for user behavior to change in order for us to really feel the impact that people are concerned about. So I think it's, for me personally, it's still just focusing on best practices and on a case-by-case basis, I guess, when it comes out, saying if it's something that would serve you best to be excluded from or have those bots crawl.
Yeah, I agree. It's better to focus on best practices or strong side. And for example, big publications like Forbes, New York Times, all these big companies existed before digital. They exist today, and of course, they can get traffic from Google, but most traffic are coming from their loyal audience. So, and people open Forbes because they wanna consume this content. If Forbes will block crawlers, probably they can lose some traffic, but it's better to pay attention to create this brand awareness, to get, and because we can block AI, like AI bots. Elon Musk did. He blocked OpenAI for Twitter, but Google has BART, so that means we need to block BART as well. This AI tool, but that means you need to block Google. You can't show your content on Google that still give traffic. I don't know what kind of future will be, but anyway, we can adapt. Whatever happens, we need.
And part of that I also want to say is I think it depends big time on your industry. So for instance, if you're a business that sells essentially information such as cookbooks or things of that nature, you could definitely see a hit because now all of a sudden, the information you're trying to sell as a product could potentially be available right there. If you're a patient, if you're a client, like let's say you're a dentist, I don't, maybe you get a lot of traffic to one blog about what is the process or the prep for a root canal. That's all well and good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all those people going to that blog are ever going to be your patient or even in your area. So I think if you provide a service, you may see your traffic go down, but I don't think that AI would have a way of really impacting conversions as far as appointments and things like that. Because at the end of the day, AI cannot be your attorney. AI cannot give you a root canal or perform a surgery or whatever service you provide. There's hundreds and thousands of them. But I think when you try and generate traffic in that research or informative phase, that's where you could definitely see a dip.
Yeah. I think AI can replace some part of content marketing, info content. But of course, today AI is not ready to replace human beings to provide these services or to sell products. I don't know. Probably we will see some plumbers, terminators, in the future who will come to fix something. I don't know. Today it's not. Yeah, Taylor, let's talk about creating high quality content, considering that we have AI. I cooperate with great authors who can post on Forbes, Bloomberg. We use press releases in our main strategy. We get great mentions, and all of them, without any exception, use AI. All of them. But Forbes still publish their content. That means it's quality. If Forbes can publish, if CNN can publish, that means they can create high quality content by using AI. Can you tell your experience how to do it? I mean, how to create high quality content with AI?
Yeah, sure. I think that if you look at ChatGPT, for instance, as kind of a co-writer, like instead of all of a sudden you had one individual who wrote all the content, et cetera, if you look at now, Chat GPT is almost the writer, and now you've stepped more into an editor role. And so an example would be, let's just say there's an attorney, and here in the United States, you have to be licensed in each state you want to practice. So we'll just say New York. So you're an attorney in New York and you want to write an article on this. You can easily put in the prompt. So like for me, when I write articles, I often will do research like what questions do I want to answer and make sure what are other articles that are ranking well covering, and making sure I cover that, and if possible more thoroughly. In ChatGPT, especially like if you have a question that you want to be, you have an FAQ section or just something you want to dig deeper into, I can plug that into ChatGPT. So taking the lawyer example, I may ask them a legal question, and now instead of writing all these paragraphs, it's my job to make sure, A, it's accurate, and then I want to add more of that expertise. So I want to go and find the laws and the statutes pertaining to this and add that in. I want to find example cases and add that in. So I think that ChatGPT for content, to me, is much more of a complement than a competitor. So I personally think that it takes away a lot of the fluff writing, the wording components, that kind of stuff, and allows you to really focus on, instead of just making sure you're writing the content well, allows you to focus on adding that expertise and that authority. And that to me has been a very nice positive associated with ChatGPT and those types of bots.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about common thinking that AI is replacing human beings? It's interesting because I can't agree with someone who can tell it's not, because we can see the tendency today. Companies are firing marketers, copywriters, and I did in my company. The main reason because I can get high results with ChatGPT. Why I need to waste like plus 10K if ChatGPT can provide this job much better? But I advise anyone who lost their jobs to learn about AI, to become prompt experts. For example, if you ask me to write great content about accounting, I can't. About weight loss, I can't, even by using AI. I tried, but I'm not sure it's quality. So, but if you ask me to do it about SEO, I can, because I do it every single day. Now I can learn about SEO. I think it's important to know the topic, to have experience, and plus more. I mean, like, you need to know how to write. Because great writers can beat in one side great writers by using AI. But if we speak about mediocre writers, you can use AI, but you can't beat great writers, even if they don't use. So it's important to have this experience. What do you think about replacing, and your advice for someone who lost their jobs?
Yeah, a lot of people think that robots or AI will eventually, put a good amount of people out of work, which is very possible. And I would think that in the first wave of people that are feeling that are kind of like you said, the content writers, things like that. I think, did we freeze or no? Hopefully you can still hear me. You're frozen on my side. But it's hard. Like, I think a lot of it is, again, trying to use that as an ally and an asset, a complement, rather than a foe. So kind of like you said, to me, your job kind of shifts from writing about things to knowing what needs to be written about, and a lot of competitor research. Like if we're trying to rank for a certain term, I want to know what pages are ranking for that. And that will kind of help lead my prompts. What sections do they have? Is there anything in that section that I could potentially dig deeper into and add more value? But as far as like advice for people that lost their jobs as content writers, I guess I would kind of say, look at it as a way where you can now produce high quality content at a much greater volume. and not necessarily compromise the content. All that proofreading, all that, which word, which preposition should I use here, kind of what makes the writer so needed, because anyone can talk about something, but to actually put it on paper and make it informative and digestible is where the content writer is really skilled. So I think it doesn't really help if you've already lost your job unless you're trying to like go out on your own or something, but allow ChatGPT to do kind of that heavy lifting for you and allow you to focus more on the specialized components and adding that expertise, like I said. But the change is inevitable. Companies, if they can do something for cheaper, will. So I guess it's kind of my best advice, is vague as it is try to use it as a tool and adapt to working with it versus working against it. Kind of as you mentioned, once you get more familiar with it and you understand how it reacts to prompts, you could become like not an expert at working with ChatGPT, but much more efficient, know kind of what gets the results that you want just by being more familiar with it, which potentially could add value to your skill set. But certainly I would say content writers are probably the hardest hit by the AI trend right now. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and companies still need people who can use this tool, who can manage the tool, because even to write the right prompts, I tried with best practices, but I like to play myself, to write these prompts.
And even ChatGPT, sorry to interrupt, but like their database is going on 3 years old. So a lot of it is, you can't blindly trust it. You need to make sure you do have that expertise thrown in so you can say, well, this is not accurate. There was a case here in the United States, I don't recall what state, but an attorney drafted up his whole, motion with ChatGPT, and it came out during the court hearing. The judge started asking questions that the document it produced referenced old cases which didn't exist. And so that's kind of like, and I mean, imagine this isn't just an article online, you're presenting this to a courtroom and getting called out on it. So that's pretty rough. So that it's definitely not at a point where it could completely replace people, which is good.
Yeah, and we got comment from David, and he mentioned that people can lose jobs in car manufacture, food warehouses. So yeah, I think all occupations can be impacted by AI. And I checked some data that in 5 years, plus 25% will lose their jobs because of AI. But guys, it's the best time today to start adapting, to play with this tool. It's if you have experience how to combine your experience with AI, then everything will be fine. Companies need these skills when you mix AI with your own skills, because I can't get great results by using AI. I need to edit. I always edit. I can use different prompts, but in the end, I edit the results that I get. Taylor, I wanna ask about EEAT. Can you tell more how it's important today to consider this parameter, because it's an indirect factor? But for me, for example, if I want to build muscles, direct factor, I need to go to gym. Indirect, I need to eat healthy food. But according to sportsmen, you can't build any muscles without eating healthy food or resting, and even more results depend on that. So can you tell how it's important EEAT, and let's combine with AI, because AI has noticed EEAT.
Yeah, I definitely think the two most important things for SEO right now are user experience and EEAT. And that EEAT, which was formerly EAT, but they had an extra E, so it's experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Essentially, I think that has become a huge focus and one of the most important components. Last September 2022, they released the first helpful content update. And we've had several more since then, including a big one last month, a year later, September 2023. And all of that is focused on the quality of the content. And we touched on it, I believe, in a previous podcast, but it's different as well, because unlike a core update or other algorithm update, it's a site-wide update. So if Google determines there's a lot of content on your site that's not valuable, rather than penalizing those pages, the whole site gets penalized as a whole. So to me, whenever anyone's talking about, like, whenever I'm making a strategy of, okay, here's this website, they're at point A, we want to get to point B, it almost always revolves around the content and the quality of that content. You know, I completely lost my train of thought. It revolves around the quality of the content. And as mentioned, Google is harping on this extensively. Every one of those quality control updates is focused on that. And what it boils down to is anyone can regurgitate a statement or a fact. But, going back to the lawyer niche, we'll say, Google wants to see that firsthand experience, that genuine expertise. And my whole thought process behind it is I would rather have one incredibly thorough page than 10 kind of good, not great pages. At the end of the day, one page, I don't want to say it could break, but it can make your website. There's a lot of people that write one blog, the topic wasn't thoroughly covered before, and now they're the leader on that topic. And so for me, my thought process has always been, when you're writing, like I mentioned before, look at everyone else who's ranking well for that. Whatever they're talking about, we want to talk about, and ideally do it better. Beyond that, I do a lot of topic and keyword research, like whatever we're writing on, what other questions are being asked about this? Can I include that on that page? With my goal being, this one page is the ultimate authority on this topic. There's no reason, if someone lands on it, to go anywhere else. All the information's right here, which it can be very tedious. Obviously, as we mentioned, having some of the lifting being done by AI is helpful, but at the end of the day, you need to have that firsthand specific knowledge to be an expert on that. And a lot of this really picked up, SEO's changed quite a bit, even in the 8 years I've been around and well before that. But I think a lot of this focus on the quality and experience component really came around during the pandemic, and when we were all in lockdown and things like that, when Google made a huge effort to try and fight misinformation. I recall very clearly there was a Google search, and it got brought to Google's attention, which quickly prompted them announcing an update for quality results. But essentially, during the lockdown, early COVID, you could Google, I don't remember what the search term was, but in the top 3 results was an article that suggested drinking bleach. And I think that Google very much at that point, when that was brought to their attention, started putting an emphasis on, not as much matching we can rank number 1 because we have the keywords in there. I mean, that's still important, but more so the substance of the content itself. And a lot of that, I think, was fought to fight misinformation. But now we're at a point where, I don't know at the exact moment, but Google's index is billions, if not trillions of pages. So narrowing that down to what are the best ones has to at some point come down to what information are we conveying? Is it providing more value to the user than the others? And so I think that, the content, back in the day, you could really trick the search engine. And there's still some black hat and tricks you can do now, but for long-term success, investing in that high quality content will only help build your authority, build your trust. As you mentioned, if you have a really good article getting picked up by other places, organically getting powerful or trusted backlinks pointing to your site, it's kind of a snowball effect. But to me, it all starts with user experience. If your website is a terrible experience, your content's not going to be very digestible or enjoyable. And then once this is a navigable site, good user experience, how good is that content? Are we the experts? And if so, that's kind of, to me, top 2 priorities right now, like when I mentioned on SEO project, getting from point A to point B.
Nice. Yeah, love it. And you mentioned that we need to create better content than we have in the top 10. But can you tell what means better content? I mean, and how many times better? Because I usually don't touch topics if I can't create something much better. I can create better, but some brands have recognition, many other algorithms can impact the results. And I usually tell my clients, no, let's search for content where you can create something much better, 10 times better, because then you can give a strong reason to Google to rank your content, and we spend some time to search for topics with lack of quality content, outdated information. It takes time, but it's better to create the right content strategy and get results much faster. So tell your tips, how you measure the previous content estimation, and how you suggest to create something better.
Yeah, so kind of like you said, an article can only be written so many different kinds of ways. So it's not always easy to improve upon things that are, pretty thorough and complete. The phrase I always use with my writers is, we want to leave no stone unturned. So essentially, a big part of that I like to utilize is FAQ. And I used to be a huge fan of FAQ schema markup, had great success until Google said, we're not acknowledging that anymore. How-to schema markup, things like that are still pretty effective. But for me, I've always heavily utilized FAQ. So for instance, if you take a topic, I'm sure that when you search it, the top 3, top 5, top 10 results, they're going to be kind of redundant. I mean, like I said, you can only say the same thing so many different ways. So I like to say, okay, we have 5 competitors. Is there something where competitor 1 covers something competitor 4 does not, and so on and so forth? And what can we compile to not necessarily make the information better, but to make it more thorough? And then that's where I like to, like, for me personally, whether it's Ahrefs or SEMrush, dig into like the topic research, dig into the keyword research, and see around these topics what other questions are being asked. Are there any that maybe were not covered here that we could build out an FAQ section for and kind of target those lower hanging fruit, those long tail phrases that not only are we now targeting kind of a less competitive area in addition to the more competitive page, but we're able to add that value and just make the page as thorough as possible. But you could definitely reach like a plateau or almost point at diminishing returns where, like I said, everyone's trying to write the same thing as good as possible. So for me, it's kind of combining the best elements, what everyone else is doing, and then trying to find areas they may have overlooked, even if they're not as heavily searched or as big a priority. If it's relevant and people looking into this topic may benefit from knowing that, I'm going to include it on there. And then also, just depending on what kind of content it is, I touched on it a moment ago, big fan of utilizing whatever schema markup is appropriate for that article.
You always unhide my secrets. Because I use a lot FUK. No, I don't think so that secrets exist, because if you hide something, then you need to expect that others will share. And today, if you want to get results, you need to unhide faster than others. But I love using FUK. And I even generate this content with ChatGPT by using various prompts, because what I like in FUK, that means I can add more keywords now to the specific page, keywords that you can submit to logical structure, to logical chain, but you can add them in FUK, and don't do it for the sake of adding these keywords. You need to bring extra value to help users. And what do you think? It's a good idea to hide answers, because I saw many FUK when they hide answers and users need to click, but I don't remember exactly where I read the study, but it's not a good idea to hide anything, because Google robots can ignore any hidden information because users don't click to this information. So what do you think about that?
It kind of depends. So if you're writing a page on, I don't know why I keep bringing up, we'll say root canals again. Mm-hmm. If there's only, 5 questions to address or something like that we pulled together, I might not even have an FAQ section and just have each question as its own, like header 3 or whatever is appropriate, and thoroughly answer it there. Same, if it's, let's say, a root canal page and we had 20 FAQ, I kind of might then do like an accordion where you click it and it drops down to the answer or something like that. Just for the user experience, I don't want them to be scrolling this wall of text looking for a specific question or having their eyes glaze over because it all looks the same. But then as far as an FAQ page itself, that's kind of case by case as well, but I'll typically have the answers visible on an FAQ page. It really just depends what kind of content it is, who the audience is, and how do I present all this information without compromising the user experience.
Yeah, got it. Taylor, I want to ask about your experience. I asked this question before, but I have new listeners, and most of them are students. I have business owners
Nice.
who want to get the basic. And today we can touch more about AI. So if you started today from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills, it's your first day in SEO. What will you do today to learn from scratch to crush rankings?
Good question. Someone just asked me that yesterday, I think, and I would really do the same thing I did when I did start. I'll give shout outs to my three favorites: Search Engine Land, Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Roundtable, in no particular order. I checked those every day, and when I was first starting, a lot of them had great guides, like SEO 101, which it's not going to teach everything, but at least get you familiar with the terminology, some of the history. Back in the day, we used to do this, and then Penguin came along, and this changed it to that. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff is out there very much for free to just kind of give you a general knowledge of SEO up to today. What are we looking for today? The kind of state of SEO in 2023, we'll say. So those blogs are incredibly helpful. And then when I kind of wanted to, now that I have a solid foundation and I want to kind of know on a more micro level, what's Google changing today? What's going on today? Twitter was huge for me. I would follow, Barry Schwartz, Glenn Gabe, Mindy Weinstein, all these different people that I looked up to and had the experience that I was trying to gain in a short amount of time, essentially. And they are so on top of it. They post case studies. They, every single day tweeting about the latest things that are happening. So that was incredibly helpful for me as well. And then the thing that was most helpful was I just created a guinea pig. At this time when I was learning SEO, I had an employer and I was learning it on their behalf and how to implement it for them. Once I had success with that, there was a lot of things I had been reading about and learning that maybe weren't relevant or applicable to that project, but I still wanted to okay, I had a lot of support on this one project that went well. Let's really test my knowledge. And I just created a guinea pig site, and I kind of picked something local that was very, unique and niche to that area and decided, okay, I'm going to try and make a site about this with my goal being I eventually want to rank number one for this. And I just kind of built that out how I thought it just, I kind of feel this is what the navigation should look like. Here's the information initially people are going to want. We can always add to that. But having that guinea pig to, not necessarily with my main source of revenue or my employer's source of revenue, kind of test out what I had been learning was very, 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 very helpful for me. Not just for, learning, but affirming what I thought I was learning and that it actually did work. So those are really the three things that if I was starting from scratch, back then I didn't have the ability to ask ChatGPT about SEO. So there's a lot more actual reading of articles and combing through it. But Search Engine Journal, they have a tab on their website. I just sent someone yesterday. It's under more, and they have a lot of just guides, which are, and they go from, here's a SEO 101 terminology guide to here's an in-depth guide about backlinks, like all you could want to know. So it really gives you the ability to kind of start at the top broad and silo into those more specific things. But that's it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Take advantage of the lessons, good or bad, that those before us have done and taken time to write about. And those are the three things to me: those blogs and guides, specifically from those three sites, the Twitter, just following the right people on Twitter, those very active, engaged SEO folks, and then just trying to take a low risk side project and put my knowledge into work. And once I had that going, I felt good about my skills and just kept dialed in.
Nice. Yeah, I love this mix. Great mix. And Taylor, my final question about one tip that you can give to our listeners from all these valuable insights that you share on this podcast. But if you can do only one thing, what will you do?
Focus on content and not backlinks. Google recently has really kind of, I don't want to say spoken poorly or anything, but they've very much spoken about the decreased value of backlinks. Back in the day, you could have all these shelf sites and backlinks ruled the world. Now, and I've felt this way for years, and I've always preached when it comes to backlinks, quality over quantity. You want good backlinks, not just like from trusted sites, so they're passing that trust to you. And in a lot of cases, that's not something you can just ask the company for, or so to me it goes hand in hand, where if you focus on content, that's where you're really going to get rewarded by what Google's emphasizing now: helpful content, experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And by doing that, you will then, if done right, and it's indexed, it performs well, backlinks take care of themselves. If you write a great article and someone else is writing about it too and doing research, they find you, they cite to you or link back to you. And that's kind of an all natural organic process versus, guest posting or any other backlink acquisition tactic. Basically, to me, is like focus on content. That's where you'll be rewarded, and the backlinks will come from that content if done right. I wouldn't necessarily focus on keyword stuffing, any of that. Like content, and just like backlinks, quality over quantity. If you are used to producing for your company a blog a week, maybe focus on one a month or two a month. Again, quality over quantity. Google's never going to reward you because you hit 200 pages in their index. No one cares about that. They're going to reward you because what the value you're providing the user. And so at the end of the day, that is essentially number one. The most important thing. I mean, if your site's insecure and it's viruses and that's all gonna nullify the content. But assuming everything else, healthy website, all this and that, we're ready to put effort in SEO. Content, quality content.
Yeah, content is number one. And I remember when Google beat AltaVista and Yahoo in 2000 because of PR, because of this backlinks, algorithm. But today, Google has enough resources to recognize other factors. It's not like backlinks and content, many different factors. And like TikTok can, you don't need to promote any content on TikTok. You need to just film content, submit. And I don't know how, but TikTok can learn my mind. This social media always shares videos that I can't stop watching. I can watch like 2 hours on TikTok.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, and on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, you need to promote. On TikTok, you don't need. Accounts with 0 followers get million views. So just create high quality engagement content, and I think Google can use something similar to TikTok to have this algorithm to recognize high quality content that will provide value. Backlinks still play huge role, but it's not like many years ago, far away from that. So in the future, I don't know, like probably Google will like TikTok. Yeah, Taylor, it's a big pleasure to get on my show. I love this experience. Valuable. Welcome back anytime to share more valuable insights. Tell the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Sure, absolutely. I'm on Twitter at Real Taylor Kurtz. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can find me Taylor Kurtz, Kurtz. Or you can shoot me an email, taylor@crushtherankings.com. And whether, even if you're not looking to like hire, if you just have a question or someone suggested this to me, or what do you think of that? I'm really big on like teaching people the right way. A lot of there, not just in SEO, but in all forms of digital marketing and all forms of business, there's a lot of snake oil salesmen. And a lot of times clients are coming to you or people are reaching out after already getting burned or having now starting to question the value of what they were paying for. And for me, like, I'm really big on building that trust. So at the end of the day, even if we don't necessarily work together, if you just have a question or anything like that, happy to point you in the right direction and help however I can.
Awesome. So kind, guys, you need to follow Taylor on Twitter. on LinkedIn because you can see a lot of value. I follow. I need to get more valuable insights, and I recommend to anyone to do it as well. Okay, guys, thanks a lot and see you next time.